The alarm screamed through the shattered station as Kai Varan pressed his back against a wall, his chest heaving. Sparks rained from broken conduits above, lighting the corridor in harsh flashes of red and orange. The air smelled of burnt metal and ozone. His cum was dead, his ship was gone, and the only thing keeping him alive was a pulse pistol with half a charge left. Somewhere beyond the smoke, boots slammed against steel. Heavy and fast hunters were moving through the station, like predators. Kai knew he wasn't their target, but anyone alive here would be considered prey. He turned a corner and froze. There, in the middle of the ruined passage, stood a figure unlike anything he had ever seen. Tall, lean, wearing black armor marked, with strange symbols and a mask that glowed faintly in the dim light. The mask covered her entire face, with a smooth silver surface and blue lines running like veins across it. She held a blade that shimmered with energy, and her other arm hung limply, slick with something dark and glistening. Blood, though, it was not human blood. She was fighting 3 raiders hulking insectoid creatures with jagged limbs and chitin. Armor. Her movements were fast, but shaky, like someone burning through the last of their strength. Kai ducked as plasma fire scorched the wall above him. He watched as the masked alien cut through one of the raiders in a clean arc, her blade slicing through armor like paper. The creature screamed and fell, twitching, but the effort cost her. She staggered, and another raider slammed its claw into her side. She grunted in pain, almost falling, but drove her blade upward, cutting the creature open. The third attacker lunged, and Kai acted without thinking. He aimed his pulse pistol and fired. The shot hit the raider's head, exploding it into shards of black shell. The alien froze, her mask turning toward him. For a second, they just stared at each other, the human and the alien, both breathing hard, surrounded by smoke and death. Then her knees buckled. The blade clattered to the floor, and she fell. Kai sprinted forward, catching her before her head hit the ground. She was heavier than he expected, her armor slick with blood. Her chest rose and fell in shallow, desperate breaths. Up close, he saw cracks spreading across her mask like fractured glass, glowing faintly blue. She tried to speak, but her voice came out as a rasp through the mask. "Don't take my mask?" Her hand gripped his wrist weakly, the strength of a dying fighter still in her fingers. "Or the truth will break you." Kai looked around, footsteps echoed in the distance. More hunters coming. He had no time to think. He scooped her up, ignoring the sharp weight of her armor, and ran. His boots pounded the floor as alarms blared and lights flickered. The station felt alive, groaning under its own ruin. He turned corner after corner, searching for cover. His lungs burned, muscles screaming, but he didn't stop. Whoever she was, whatever she was, leaving her behind wasn't an option. Finally, he found a sealed maintenance bay. The door was half broken, but he forced it open and slipped inside. It was dark, littered with old tools and scraps of metal. He laid her gently on the floor. Her breathing was shallow, uneven. The cracks in her mask glowed brighter now, lines of blue light crawling across the surface. Something about that mask wasn't just a piece of armor, it pulsed like it was alive. Kai reached for his med kit, trying to patch what wounds he could, but the mask made everything harder. He couldn't even see her face. Her voice came again, softer this time, almost a whisper. "Promise me, you won't remove it." Kai looked down at her, his hands trembling. "If I don't, you'll die," he muttered, though he wasn't sure if she understood him. She shook her head weakly. "You don't understand?" Her hand slipped from his wrist and fell to the floor. Kai froze as the sound of metal boots echoed faintly in the hall beyond. They were coming. He pressed his back against the wall, pulse pistol in his grip, his heart hammering in his ears. The alien woman lay at his feet, her life hanging by a thread, and the hunters were closing in. He didn't know who she was, why her mask mattered, or what the truth could possibly be, but in that moment, one thing was clear. If he left her, she would die. And if he stayed, they both might. Outside, the footsteps grew louder, joined by the click of alien weapons. Kai tightened, his grip on the pistol, his eyes flicking to the mask again. The cracks pulsed brighter, almost as if warning him. Then the door shuddered as something slammed against it from the other side. The metal creaked, groaned. They had found him. And the mask, with its faint hum, seemed to whisper like a living thing in the silence. "Remove me." The door buckled. Kai cursed under his breath. One thought burned in his mind. If the mask came off, what would he see? And why did she believe the truth would break him? The metal door bent inward, a claw forcing its way through. Kai raised his weapon, his pulse racing. He had seconds to decide, and no matter what, nothing would ever be the same again. The door groaned like a beast in pain as claws tore through steel. Sparks flew as Kai pressed himself against the wall, his pulse pistol aimed at the opening seam. The masked alien lay on the floor behind him, breathing in shallow, broken gasps. The glow from the cracks in her mask brightened with each sound of tearing metal, pulsing like a heartbeat. It was almost as if the mask was alive and afraid. "Stay with me," Kai whispered, though he wasn't sure if she could hear. Her body twitched slightly, a faint tremor running through her limbs. He wanted to ask who she was, why they were hunting her, what secret this mask held, but the door shrieked again as another claw punched through, curling like a hook. He had seconds, maybe less. Kai fired a shot through the gap. A roar shook. The hallway outside, followed by the sound of scraping claws on metal. Then silence. Too much silence. They were waiting now, listening. Kai's grip tightened on the pistol. He turned to the woman Cerise. He remembered her trying to say before collapsing. Her name was Cerise, and Cerise was dying. Her voice came. Suddenly, weak and trembling. "Don't let them take me." The words were heavy with fear. That fear didn't belong to a warrior. It belonged to someone with everything to lose. Kai crouched beside her. "I won't," he said, even though his heart pounded like a drum and his head screamed that this wasn't his fight. He reached for his medkit, flipping it open with shaking fingers. He had a vial of synth blood, a coagulant, and a few patches meant for human wounds. None of it was made for her kind, but it was all he had. He peeled back the armor near her side, where the dark blood seeped through. It wasn't blood like his. It shimmered faintly, as if it carried light. He pressed the patch against the wound, and her body jerked in pain. She hissed softly, her gloved fingers clutching his arm with surprising strength. "Don't remove the mask," she rasped again, her voice edged with desperation. Kai swallowed hard. "Then tell me why," he whispered. "Tell me why it matters more than your life." Her head shifted slightly, as if she was trying to look at him through the featureless mask. Her voice was almost gone, just a thread of sound. "Because if you see, you'll never look at me the same." The door slammed again, harder this time, shaking the floor. A jagged opening tore wider, revealing a claw and part of a snarling face. They were done waiting. Kai knew they couldn't stay here. He checked the room for exits, one maintenance hatch on the far wall. Maybe it led to another corridor. Maybe it was a dead end. Either way, it was their only chance. He grabbed Cerise, pulling her up carefully, feeling the weight of her limp body against his chest. "Hold on," he muttered, though she didn't answer. He dragged her to the hatch, yanking the manual lever. Rusted gears screamed, but the panel finally slid open. Darkness yawned beyond, the smell of old metal and stale air rushing out. He didn't hesitate. He slid inside, pulling her with him just as the door behind them exploded in a shower of sparks. They fell into the tunnel, landing hard on the grated floor. Kai grunted in pain, but kept his grip on Ceres. The sounds of pursuit echoed behind claws scraping, voices hissing in a language he didn't understand. He crawled forward through the narrow passage, dragging her, his breath coming in harsh, ragged gasps. When they finally reached a small junction, he stopped to catch his breath. Ceres lay motionless, her glowing mask the only light in the dark. Kai stared at it, at the faint blue patterns dancing like veins across its surface. He reached out, almost without thinking, his fingers brushing the smooth metal. The mask was warm, too warm, like it held a fire inside. Suddenly, her hand shot up, weak but fierce, gripping his wrist. Her voice was a whisper, but it burned with urgency. "Promise me, you won't take it off." Kai froze, his heart thundering. "Why? Tell me why." Her breath shuddered out. "Because the truth will break you." And then her hand slipped, falling away like a dead weight dot from behind. Metal shrieked as something began ripping through the hatch. The hunters had found the tunnel. Kai stared at Ceres, torn between the promise and the reality the mask was killing her. If he didn't remove it soon, she wouldn't live long enough for any truth to matter. The hatch burst open, shadows flooding the tunnel. Kai raised his weapon with one hand, the other hovering over the mask, his mind screaming with one question. That could change everything. Save her life or keep her secret. And somewhere deep inside the mask, a faint voice, not human, whispered, in a language he didn't know. The mask was speaking. Asterisk. The tunnel shook as a blast ripped through the hatch behind him, throwing shards of metal past Kai's head. He didn't look back. He couldn't. He hooked his arms under Ceres's shoulders and dragged her deeper into the maintenance shaft, his boots scraping against the grated floor. Sparks danced in the darkness as enemy voices hissed and clicked, echoing like whispers from the grave. The hunters were inside now, crawling after them. "Kai Varin." One of the voices called his name. The sound was distorted, metallic, like grinding steel. His stomach clenched. They knew who he was. How? He shoved the thought away and pulled. Ceres forward, his muscles screaming in protest. Her weight felt heavier with every meter, and her glowing mask lit the tunnel like a cursed lantern. The cracks in it pulsed brighter with each breath, casting flickers of blue across the walls. It felt alive, watching, waiting. "Stay with me?" he muttered through gritted teeth, even though Ceres hadn't spoken since the last warning. "Don't take off the mask." The tunnel split ahead 2 directions. Kai didn't hesitate. He turned left, hoping luck was still on his side. The path sloped downward, colder and darker, until his boots splashed into ankle-deep water. His heart pounded so loud, drowned the sound of dripping pipes and distant. Claws dot behind him. Something moved fast. Too fast. A shadow stretched long across the wall, flickering with the blue glow from Ceres's mask. Kai stopped just long enough to yank his last grenade from his belt. He thumbed the charge and tossed it down the tunnel behind them. A low, angry hum filled the shaft. Then, boom. The explosion shook the metal walls like thunder, collapsing the section behind them in a cloud of smoke and fire. The screams of alien hunters cut through the blast, high-pitched and furious. Kai stumbled forward, his breath ragged, carrying Ceres like a child in his arms now. Her head rested against his chest, her glowing mask humming faintly against his heartbeat. He couldn't stop feeling that hum, like something inside the mask was speaking, not in words, but in vibrations, almost like a living signal. He finally found a wider space, a junction chamber with rusted ladders leading up, and a half-broken console flickering dim light. Kai lowered Cerise gently to the floor, his arms numb from exhaustion. He pressed 2 fingers against her neck. There was a pulse, weak and slow. She was slipping away. "Damn it," he whispered. He dug into his medkit again, pulling out the last of his synth blood and trying to inject it through a gap in her armor. Her body twitched, but the readings on his wrist display didn't change. She needed more than this. She needed something else. Kai stared at the mask. The cracks were wider now, leaking threads of blue energy that crawled like veins. Strange symbols glowed faintly across its surface, shifting like living ink. He reached out and touched it. It was burning hot. His fingers jerked back instinctively. "Cerise," he said softly, almost pleading. "What are you hiding?" Her lips moved slightly under the mask, a whisper so faint he barely caught it. "Don't let them take it." "Why?" Kai asked, desperation cracking his voice. "Tell me why this thing matters so much." She coughed weakly, a sound like glass breaking. "It's not just a mask." Her voice trembled as if the truth itself hurt. "It holds the part of me they fear." Before Kai could ask what that meant, a loud clang echoed above. Metal boots. More hunters. They were back, and they had found another way in. Shadows spilled across the chamber walls as figures appeared in the ladder shaft above. Kai cursed under his breath. He grabbed his pistol and backed toward the far hatch. But as the first hunter dropped into the chamber, something strange happened. Mask on Cerise's face pulsed once, hard enough to send a vibration through the floor. Blue light spilled from the cracks, painting the walls like firelight. The hunters froze for a second. Then they hissed a sound of fear this time, not anger. One of them spoke in a guttural voice. "It's waking." Kai's blood ran cold. Waking? What the hell did that mean? The hunters lunged. Kai fired, dropping the first one with a headshot. Plasma bolts lit the chamber as he dove behind a rusted console, firing wildly. The hunters moved like shadows, their claws slashing sparks from the floor. Then a voice soft, alien, and not Cerise's whispered inside Kai's mind. It wasn't sound. It was thought, cold and sharp like a blade. "Break the seal, or she dies." Kai froze for a split second, his breath caught in his throat. The mask, it was speaking to him. He looked at Cerise, lying limp on the floor as blue. Light poured from the cracks like blood. Her life was slipping away. And now the mask, the thing she begged him not to remove, was asking him to do the one thing that could doom them both. The console beside him exploded, showering sparks. Kai hit the floor, his mind torn between 2 choices: obey the mask and risk everything, or keep the promise and watch her die. The hunters closed in, their claws glinting in the blue light. And the voice came again, louder this time, like thunder inside his skull. "Break the seal." Now. Asterisk light poured from the cracks. In Cerise's mask, like rivers of fire, casting strange shadows across the rusted walls. Kai crouched behind the shattered console, his pulse pistol smoking in his hand. His heart slammed in his chest so hard it hurt. Hunters closed in from every angle, their claws clanging against metal, their hissing voices echoing like demons. In the dark, and then the voice came again, sharp, cold, not human, not Ceres. It cut through his thoughts like a blade. Break the seal, or she dies. Kai's gaze shot to Cerise. She lay limp in a pool of water, her chest barely rising, her mask glowing like a dying star. The blue light flickered, then surged in violent pulses as if the mask itself was alive and angry. Another crash. A hunter lunged at him, its jaws wide, dripping with acidic saliva. Kai rolled, fired twice. The first shot missed. The second tore through its skull, splattering black ichor across the wall. He scrambled up, his boots slipping in the water, his breath tearing in and out like knives. More hunters dropped from the upper hatch, their shadows spilling across the walls like a nightmare come alive. He had seconds, maybe less. Kai dove toward Cerise. He knelt beside her, hands shaking as they hovered over the mask. "I don't know what you are," he muttered, his voice cracking, "but I'm not letting you die." As his fingers touched the mask, heat seared his skin, making him hiss in pain. Symbols crawled across its surface like living ink, glowing brighter with every heartbeat. The voice thundered inside his head again. "Break it." Cerise's weak hand twitched, brushing his arm. Her voice was barely a whisper, soft and broken. "No, don't, promise." Kai's throat tightened. "You want me to keep a promise that kills you?" His voice was raw. "Sorry, Cerise, not happening." The mask pulsed once hard. A blast of blue energy shot up his arm, slamming through his body like lightning. He gasped, teeth clenching against the pain as the mask's glow grew blinding, his vision blurred. He could feel it, something ancient and hungry, pressing against his mind. The hunters stopped moving. For a heartbeat, the chamber fell silent, except for the low, vibrating hum from the mask. They hissed again, softer this time. It wasn't anger. It was fear. Kai gritted his teeth and ripped the mask free. It didn't come off gently. It fought him, tendrils of energy, wrapping around Cerise's head like living wires. Blue arcs ripped through the air as the chamber screamed with soundless pressure. Sparks rained from the ceiling as the ground trembled beneath his knees. Finally, with a tearing sound that wasn't metal, the mask came loose. Kai fell backward, clutching it in his hands as light exploded from its surface, burning so bright it turned the chamber white. His ears rang. His lungs burned. And then he saw her. Cerise. Her face was revealed, and it stole his breath. She was human. No, not fully. Her skin shimmered faintly like liquid silver, veins glowing softly beneath the surface. Her eyes snapped, open eyes so bright and blue they looked carved from starlight. And on her forehead, glowing like a brand, was a symbol that matched the chi. Once on the mask. Kai stared, unable to move, his mind reeling. What are you?" Cerise's lips parted, trembling. "I'm the reason they fear your kind," she whispered. Before Kai could speak, the mask in his hands convulsed, its surface rippling like water. The voice roared inside his skull, deafening. "The seal is broken." The hunters shrieked all at once, their claws scraping against the floor as they backed away in terror. But something else moved in the chamber, now something darker, rising like a shadow from the glowing cracks in the floor. Kai dropped the mask as it twisted and writhed, reshaping itself into something with claws and teeth made of light. The mask wasn't a mask anymore. It was alive, and it wanted blood. Asterisk. Blue light surged from the thing Kai had thought was just a mask, twisting into a shape that wasn't human or alien. It had no skin, no bone, only a body made of living light and jagged edges, like glass shards floating in a storm. Its face split open with a soundless roar, a scream that wasn't sound but vibration. The metal walls trembled, bolts snapping free and skittering across the floor. The hunters, those fearless killers, were now backing away, hissing like frightened animals. One turned to run. The creature moved before Kai even saw it. In a flash of blue fire, it struck. The hunter exploded into black fragments, its body ripped apart as if gravity itself had betrayed it. The others tried to flee, but the thing moved faster than thought, cutting through them like shadows dissolving in light. Kai stumbled backward, clutching Cerise against his chest. Her breath was shallow, her skin glowing faintly in the storm of blue light. Her eyes flickered open, dazed, but when they locked on the creature, terror bled into them. "No," she whispered. It's free. Kai's throat tightened. What the hell is that thing? Her lips trembled. Not a thing. A guardian. It was never a mask, it was a prison. Kai stared at her, his mind spinning. You've got to be kidding me. She shook her head weakly. My people, they feared it. They bound it to me. To keep it asleep. And now? Kai asked, though he already knew. Her voice broke. Now it's awake. The creature turned toward them. Its glowing form twisted, jagged shapes orbiting, around a core of blinding blue fire. It had no eyes, but Kai felt its gaze like a spear through his chest. His pulse hammered as the voice came again, not in sound, but inside his skull. The seal is broken. The key belongs to the human. The what? Kai muttered, backing away as the floor cracked under the creature's weightless steps. His hand fumbled for the pulse pistol, but deep down, he knew a gun wouldn't matter. Cerise gripped his arm weakly, her voice sharp despite her fading strength. Don't fight it. If you resist, it will kill you. Kai snapped his head toward her, eyes blazing. Oh, great advice. What do you suggest invited for dinner? Her fingers tightened around his wrist. You don't understand. It's connected to you now. When you broke the seal, you became its anchor. Before Kai could curse, the creature lunged not to kill, but to touch. Its claw of light slammed against his chest. His body locked as pain ripped through him, bright and searing like molten metal poured into his veins. He screamed, the sound torn from his lungs as blue arcs burst from his skin. Symbols those same shifting glyphs flared. Across his arms, glowing like brands. Kai fell to his knees, choking, his vision a storm of blue fire and alien whispers. In that chaos, images flooded his mind, planets burning, stars collapsing, and armies of Cerise's people bowing before something vast and godlike. Then a human face flashed among them. His own. No? He gasped, clutching his head as the whispers coiled tighter, almost gentle now. The key. The bridge, the end, and the beginning. Kai. Cerise's voice cut through the storm. She crawled toward him, her wounds forgotten for the moment. She grabbed his shoulders, her silver-lit skin glowing brighter as she pressed her forehead against his. Listen to me. You have to control it, or it will consume you. Kai's breath came in ragged bursts, his hands trembling as energy crawled under his skin like fire ants. Control what? The part that chose you, she whispered, her voice trembling with something deeper than fear. The part that should never exist. Before he could answer, the hunters regrouped at the edge of the chamber, dozens of them now, weapons raised. Plasma bolts tore through the air, striking the glowing creature. It didn't fall. It didn't even flinch. It simply turned, and in the blink of an eye, they were gone. All of them, torn apart by light and left as smoking shadows on the walls. Kai stared at the carnage, his stomach twisting. He had seen death before, but never like this. Never something that wasn't killing for survival or vengeance. This thing killed because it was free. The voice returned, softer this time, almost tender. You are mine now. Kai shuddered, his teeth clenched, his fists shaking as he forced himself to stand. His chest burned where the creature had touched him, and under his skin, blue light pulsed like a second heartbeat. Cerise looked up at him, her glowing eyes wide and wet with something that looked like fear and guilt. Kai, you don't know what you've done. Kai turned slowly toward the creature, his jaw tight. Yeah, he said hoarsely. I'm starting to figure that out. The creature tilted its faceless head, and then, in a blur of light, it vanished, melting into his shadow like it had never been there at all. For a heartbeat, silence filled the chamber. Then Kai staggered, almost collapsing, as Cerise caught him with what little strength she had left. His eyes burned faint blue now, a reflection of something alien crawling inside him. He met her gaze, his voice low and broken. "You said the truth would break me, Cerise." He swallowed hard. "You were wrong. It's worse than that." And then the station trembled, alarms screaming again, not because of the hunters this time, but something far bigger closing in. Something that knew the prison was open. Asterisk, the walls shook, metal groaning as alarms howled through the corridors. Red warning lights pulsed in rhythm with the pounding in Kai's skull. He leaned against the console, his chest heaving, his veins still glowing faint blue like molten lines under his skin. Cerise gripped his arm, her own strength fading fast, but her voice was urgent and raw. "They're coming," she whispered. Kai forced his head up, his vision still fractured by ghostly afterimages of the thing that had merged with him. Masked that wasn't a mask. Its whispers still coiled in the corners of his mind like smoke. "You are mine. You are the key." The floor vibrated as something massive docked with the station. Through the cracked viewport, Kai saw a shadow swallowing. The stars, a warship, black and jagged, crawling with lights. Hundreds of smaller shapes broke away from it, descending like a storm of locusts. "Reinforcements," Cerise said, her voice shaking now, not with pain, but fear. "They know the prison is open. They'll kill you, Kai, and they'll burn this station to ash." Kai clenched his fists, feeling the pulse of blue light ripple under his skin. It wasn't just inside him anymore. It was answering something outside, like a signal calling its twin. The console flickered with static. Then a voice cracked through the comm system deep, guttural, dripping with command. "Surrender the human. The Velari trader dies either way." Kai's jaw tightened. "Friendly bunch," he muttered, his voice raw with exhaustion. Cerise turned his face toward hers, her silver-lit eyes piercing into his. "You don't understand. If they take you alive, they'll use you. They'll use it, and then everything ends." Kai stared at her, his chest burning as another tremor shook the station. The thing inside him whispered again, sweet and cold. "Let me in fully. I will make them kneel." His teeth clenched. "Not happening," he hissed under his breath. Cerise looked at him, her face pale, her voice breaking as she said the words he didn't expect. "Then you need to kill me before they break me." Kai froze. "What?" Tears glimmered in her glowing eyes. "If they take me, they'll rip the truth from my mind. They'll know everything, the human link, the key. They'll come for your world." "No," Kai said sharply, shaking his head. "Don't you dare ask me to." The station shuddered violently, cutting him off. The far bulkhead tore open in an explosion of sparks, and black-armored soldiers poured through like shadows with teeth. Plasma fire filled the chamber, scorching the air. Kai dove, dragging Cerise with him behind a collapsed beam as molten streaks cut the floor where they had been. Adrenaline ripped through him. He aimed his pistol, fired, dropped one soldier, then another, but there were too many. Dozens more surged in, weapons glowing red. The voice returned, louder now, burning in his head. "Call me." Kai shook his head violently. "Get out of my skull." He roared, firing until the pistol clicked empty. He hurled it aside, his hands trembling. Sparks of blue energy crawling across his skin like living veins. Cerise grabbed his wrist, her voice fierce despite her weakness. "Kai, if you fight it, you'll die. If you let it take you, you won't be you anymore." Her words tore through him like shrapnel. He stared at her, this alien warrior who had bled for him, who had trusted him when no one else would, and something deep inside snapped. The soldiers charged, raising their rifles. Time slowed. The voice whispered like silk, "Choose, Kai, them or me." Kai's breath left him in a ragged gasp as the blue fire erupted from his skin like a storm. His body lifted off the floor, weightless, arcs of light snapping through the air. Symbols flared across his arms and chest, burning bright like living tattoos. The soldiers froze, some screaming, some firing wildly. It didn't matter. The first wave disintegrated in a blast of raw energy that turned steel walls into molten slag. The station groaned as panels, ripped free and floated like paper in a hurricane. Kai floated at the center of it all, his eyes blazing pure blue now, his voice echoing with something not entirely his own. "You wanted me?" he said coldly. "Come take me." The soldiers faltered. Some dropped their weapons. Others turned to run. But the warship outside fired its main cannon, and the viewport exploded inward in a blinding flash. Fire and vacuum roared through the chamber, tearing everything apart. Asterisk. Cerise clung to a jagged beam, her silver-lit hair whipping around her face as the void reached for her. She screamed his name, but Kai didn't move. He stood in the heart of the chaos, untouched, glowing like a god in the storm got in the light. Swallowed everything. It was the first thing Kai noticed when the roar faded, the silence of space pressing against his ears like a weight. He blinked slowly, vision swimming with fragments of light. The station was gone, torn apart, scattered, like dust across the void. Only broken steel floated around him, like the bones of a dead giant. He looked down. His boots weren't touching anything. He was floating, glowing faintly, arcs of blue still crawling across his skin. His pulse thundered, yet he felt no fear, no cold, no hunger. Just power deep, endless, and heavy, like holding a star in. His hands dot, and then he heard it. Her voice. "Kai." He turned sharply, panic cutting through the haze. Cerise. She was drifting in the void, clinging to a jagged fragment of metal, her body limp, her silver-lit hair floating like a halo. Without thinking, he shot toward her, not flying, not swimming, just willing space to move, and it obeyed. He reached her, wrapping his arms around her before the darkness could claim her. Her eyes fluttered open, glowing faintly like dying. "Starlight, you didn't leave me." Kai pulled her close, his jaw tight. "Not in a million years." Her lips curved in the faintest smile, but her voice trembled. "You shouldn't have done it. Now it owns you." Kai clenched his teeth, feeling the whisper slither in his mind again. "You are mine. You are the key." He forced it down, glaring. "Into the infinite dark. No," he muttered. "I'm not your puppet." Cerise touched his face with a trembling hand, her skin cold against the strange heat under his own. "You don't understand, Kai. That thing, it wasn't just a weapon. It was a god once. My people locked it away because it wanted one thing: freedom." Kai's chest tightened. "Why me? Out of every living thing, why the hell me?" Cerise's glowing eyes held his, and for a heartbeat, the silence between them felt heavier than the stars. Then she whispered the truth that made his blood run cold. "Because, Kai, it was made from your kind." The words hit him like a meteor. His breath caught. "What?" Cerise nodded weakly, her voice barely a thread now. "Long before my race walked the stars, there was another, a species that burned through the galaxy like fire. Your ancestors, the first humans, before history, forgot them. That thing, the mask, was born from their flesh and mind. It carries their hunger, their will to dominate. And now, it carries you." Kai stared at her, his heart pounding so hard it hurt. He wanted to scream that it wasn't true, but deep down, something inside him already knew. Every surge of power, every whisper in his skull, it felt too natural, like it belonged. Cerise's hand slipped from his face, her voice fading. "Promise me, You won't let it win. Kai held her tighter, his eyes burning bright blue now, his jaw clenched like iron. I promise, he whispered, though even as he said it, the voice laughed inside his mind, soft, cold, endless. They all promised dot from the darkness. Lights bloomed dozens, hundreds of warships snapping into real space, their hulls glinting like blades in starlight. The enemy hadn't given up. They were coming, and now they weren't just after Cerise. They were after him. Kai looked out at the growing armada, his arms wrapped around Cerise, the blue fire simmering under his skin like a rising tide. He could run. He could fight. He could burn the galaxy down if he wanted. The choice hung in the silence like a blade, and then the voice whispered again, soft and sweet as a lie, "Let me help you save her. Just open the door." Kai closed his eyes, feeling the weight of a galaxy settle on his shoulders. To save her, or save himself. He might have to become the very thing everyone feared. The stars stretched before him like an open wound. And deep inside, something smiled. *The end.